Are you the character that hides in the shadows, climbs up walls, is the terror in the darkness? Then do we have a list for you? Coming up, 5 items that you definitely need if you're playing the sneaky character. Hi, and welcome to Nothing Venture, Nothing Game. Your host with the most, your GM Jared, and today we're doing a list of 5 items that all sneaky characters definitely need. Now, before we go on, and I introduced my co-host for today, I really would appreciate it if you could give us a like and subscribe. It really helps out small channels like ours. But with that said, I'd like to throw it over to our resident rogue, the man in the shadows, Jeff. How you doing today, Jeff?
I'm doing great. Ready to talk about some sneaky stuff.
Awesome. And like we said, this is more or less going to help all characters, but it really focuses on being the sneaky, stealth, deception-based character. And these are these items. Now, before we go on, this is just our list, and they are in absolutely no specific order. It's just orders that we thought would sound cool when we talked about them. So they're not ranked from best to worst or cheapest to most expensive. We just ranked it to the ones we like talking about. And some of our players, Jeff, actually had a few of these items. So he has a personal experience with them. So, Jeff, starting on our list of sneaky items. I love saying that, sneaky items. We're going to jump into one of the coolest items, and I believe you did have this item on one of our campaigns. It's the Gloves of Storing. Now, why don't you tell us, since you have a personal connection, why don't you tell us about these items?
The Gloves of Storing. I actually really enjoy this item. It's a level 7 item, but it would really never hurt a campaign if your GM chose to give it to you at a slightly less level. It's not going to break your game. It's really good. It's sort of like having a bag of holding as a glove. Obviously, it does not fit as much as a bag of holding. You can keep a nice weapon in there. You can keep a wand in there. You can keep anything that you need to access when the time comes, especially if you're in a place where you're not supposed to have weapons. Let's say you're at a fancy dinner and they're like, okay, sure. The next thing you know, as every game goes, when you're at dinner, something crazy happens. So you'll be the one with a weapon, which is absolutely fantastic. It's an interact action. It's a free action. So all you really have to do is say, dagger in my hand. And now you have a dagger. And now you're back in business. To tell you about one of our next sneaky items, I'm going to give it back to our host, Jared, and he's going to tell you about the Cape of Mountebank. Very interesting item.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the Cape of the Mountebank, it's a item level 10, so it's a fairly high level item, but it's not terrible. Now, this item does 2 things for you. Firstly, while wearing the cape, you get a +2 to deception checks, which again is amazing if, let's say, you're building a rogue character that's based on deception, or even a bard, any character that uses deception. Great item. Now, for 2 actions, and this is once per day, you can cast Dimension Door, which is amazing. A poof of smoke appears, filling the square where you were, and then smoke when you reappear. And that's the whole item. Not a lot happening there, but that +2 is huge on deception. It really balances you out, and it makes it very powerful. Again, Jeff played a feint rogue where for feinting, which uses deception, he would have they create flat-footed and then be able to use their sneak attack. So if you're building a feint kind of character, that's great. If you're playing a swashbuckler, it's great. You can use deception for a swashbuckler. Bard, lots of characters out there. And then also casting Dimension Door once per day is not terrible. It's amazing. It's a great spell. And you don't have to have any kind of spell list for this. So any class can wear this and boom, Dimension Door away. Well, not so much away, but Dimension Door. Also, it's cool if you're building a magic character, like a magician. Top hat, pulling rabbits out of a hat. This cape kind of does the whole thing, the puff of smoke and then they disappear. So that's a really fun, it's a fun item. I would suggest any DM or any character trying to see if they could get this item for themselves. Now on to a really cool item. The third item on our list is the Ring of Maniacal Devices. Say that 3 times fast. And I'm going to throw that over to our resident rogue, Jeff. Tell us about the ring.
Okay, Ring of Maniacal Devices. I mean, with a name like that, it's kind of has to be good. It's really cool. You get a +2 to your thievery checks to disable devices, which is great, and pick locks. It gives you the same bonus to if you're crafting snares or repairing snares. It's a really, really good item. But the fun part comes, you have to interact with it for 10 minutes, and you can cast a glyph of warding with a fireball attached to it, which is fantastic. If you're in a dungeon somewhere and you have a few minutes, you set it up on a door and you bolt. And when the bad guys come looking for you, there's going to be a big boom behind you, and you'll know that it worked. It's an 11th level item. It's a fairly high item, but again, it's not one of those things that would break your game to give it to a 7th level character. It wouldn't be so terrible. GMs out there, take heed. There's also a better version of it. It's an 18th level item. It's really, really big. Your bonus goes to +3 on all of those checks, which is fantastic. And it also would give you an 8th level glyph of warding, or a 7th level fireball, or also an 8th level prismatic spray, which, we all know what all of those spells do just from the history of playing these games. It's a pretty powerful item, and it's a lot of fun. You can set it up and just literally just watch the bad guys blow up. And then you swoop in and you gather up all the treasure, because chances are, if there's people hunting you down at that level, they have some goodies for you to take at the end. And now for something a little bit lower of a level, but just could be equally as fun to use, and it probably does not get enough hype as it should, is the Bracelet of Dashing. And I'm going to let Jared tell you all about that.
Sure. So the Bracelet of Dashing, this is an item level 3. So you've made it all this way now, 4th level. We're on item number 4 out of 5, and we've given you a low level item. And the reason why I think this item is great at early levels, it's item level 3. So again, giving it early wouldn't hurt your campaign. You get a +1 to acrobatics checks when you activate it. So for one action, and it's only once per day. With a lot of these magic items are once per day. You gain a +10 status bonus to your speed for 1 minute. So basically, you get faster. You dash. You get to move faster, and that's for 1 minute. So in combat, that's actually amazing. That's 10 rounds of combat. So having that allows you to move faster and get into flanking positions with your, we spoke about that, get into flanking positions with your teammates. Also, acrobatics, that allows you to tumble through enemies. So if you're trying to move out the way or get through a number of enemies maybe blocking your path, having that +1 is very big. You'll notice in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, +1, +2 does make a huge difference. It goes from a fail to a success, a critical fail to a fail, even from a fail to, a success to a critical success. It can all be based on a 1 or a 2. So that's really good. Now, finally, we come to the last, but certainly not least on our list, the great and all-powerful Slippers of Spider Climb. So I just want to say, in my head, they look like those fuzzy slippers, but, with the little smiley face, like the grandma slippers you always see in the cartoons, the little pink ones. But instead, in my head, they're all black, and they got like little spider legs on the poofy end. In my head canon, but that's definitely not what it is. But to tell you exactly what it is, I'm going to throw it over to our resident rogue, Jeff.
All right, Spider Climb. We all know Spider Climb. We've been playing with Spider Climb for 50 years, and I love Spider Climb, especially for rogues, because you find those dark corners of those dungeon rooms, and you hang out in there, and you just unleash your sneak attacks. It is fantastic. It's a 1-action command, which is great, and it's once per hour. Ooh. And basically, for a whole minute, you get a 20-foot climb speed, which is great. I mean, you're climbing on walls, you're attacking from ceilings, you're out of range of melee stuff, and it also would give you flat-footed since you're attacking from stealth. It's really just an item that I love. I've always loved being able to spider climb. It's something that I've coveted for all of my rogues and even my wizards, because unleashing spells from a ceiling when you're out of range of all the pole arms is not a bad place to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it also just really, it's just you avoid pits. You can walk, if the bridge is out, you can walk underneath a bridge if you don't want to alert anybody on the underside of the bridge. Spider climb, I've always found to have tons and tons of awesome uses to really get you advantages in the game. Like, I love the Slippers of Spider Climb. Again, it's a level 7 item. It's a pretty decent item for a level 7.
Mm-hmm.
But again, GMs out there, speaking as a player, it wouldn't hurt to get them slightly earlier. But, it's just really an item that I've always liked. It's a spell I've always liked. It just has so many uses. And I know people out there would really, really enjoy being able to do these things. Again, these are all items to really, help your gameplay. It spices up your characters. It gives you really, really cool abilities. And of course, your GM, even if they give you these items, they can always find ways to thwart you, which is a lot of fun, because guess what? Now the room's made of ice and you're not climbing anywhere.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's what fireballs are for.
Especially if you have those, what was it, the ring of maniacal devices. You just put down a glyph of fireball on the ice.
Oh, yeah. I mean, owning all of these things at the same time would not be a terrible thing.
You'd be pretty awesome.
Yep, I would have to say so. Now we're going to discuss, there's some armor runes that you can get that would be very beneficial to anyone who really could wear light or any medium armors. Most of them go on light armors.
Mm-hmm.
You get these etched into your thing, and Jared's going to give you an introduction on runes.
Sure. So the reason why we didn't really want to mention these as items is because a rune can be moved from. So if you find armor and let's say it's not to your liking, you can always remove the rune and place it onto a different set of armor that you might have. With that being said, we have two runes that they are fairly close in level. One is item level 8, the other is item level 5 starting, right? So 5 plus, 8 plus, meaning you could get higher levels of those. So the first one we're going to talk about is, I think the coolest one personally is the Shadow Rune. And this can be put onto any light or medium non-metallic armor. So this is also great for you druids out there who can't wear metal. Now, Jeff, I know you know about this rune a little bit more because I believe I gave it to you at one point.
I'm not too sure, but you might have.
I probably did. I overpower my characters all the time. Like mid-game, like come like level 7, 8, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to start giving them magic items because I want them to fight dragons.
Well, that's usually what happens. Like, you want to sort of like always ramping up characters. Next thing you know. But the Shadow Rune, this is one that goes into light armor, non-metallic armor. So obviously great for druids, great for rangers. It gives you a +1 item bonus to stealth checks while wearing the armor. Of course, there's greater runes, the Greater Shadow and the Major Shadow, which are level 9 and 17 respectively, which jump the bonuses to +2 and +3 respectively. Again, this is an item that, even though it's a level 5 item, it's not that terrible to present to a player at an earlier level if you just want to like spice them up.
Definitely.
All right, and to intro the other rune, Jared, he's going to discuss the makings of the invisibility rune.
Sure, and that rune is 8 plus, meaning starts at level 8, and then there is a greater at level 10 that you could find. Now, both of these are fairly well priced. Honestly, 500 gold for the invisibility and 650 and 55 for the Shadow Rune. So again, not terrible prices. These are gold point prices. But the invisibility rune, you can etch this only onto light armor. So again, this is great for a lot of classes. This isn't just good for the rogue-esque character. This is great for the druid, the barbarian, the bard. A barbarian could use it. No, that's terrifying.
Sure, wearing leather.
Yeah. Who else could use this? Rangers. Sorcerer, well, you sorcerers don't get armor. Sorcerer and wizards could theoretically etch it onto the light armor, the robes they get, that the adventuring robes. They can etch runes onto those. Again, a wizard being invisible is never terrible. That's
Yes, invisibility is another one of those things where it goes back to the beginning of RPGs.
Yeah.
Everybody loves it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how could you not get the surprise attack? I mean, it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
And
basically it's only a once per day and it's a single action command. So again, it doesn't hurt any caster or at all. It's a single action and that's not terrible. And while you wear this, you become invisible for 1 minute, gaining the effects of a second level invisibility spell. And the only reason why it says that is in case someone decides to dispel magic in the room or something that will affect how the DC works.
Right, but it's it's just one of those things where, I mean, everybody knows the benefits of being invisible. I mean, of course, soon as you take an attack or cast a spell, it's gone. But by then, it's already have served its purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're already flanking with something, hopefully by now, and literally you just pop out, and there goes 2 swords in the back.
Yeah,
because that's what you do when you're a rogue.
Mm-hmm. Or if you're even if you're a caster, you could, like a witch, right? Could wear light armor. You could cast magic missile, throw 2 of those out, and then become invisible. It's a single action invisibility. Suddenly you're invisible.
You can also use it at the end of your turn.
Exactly.
You could just be like stab, stab, invisible.
Yeah.
I don't know where he is.
I don't know where they went.
I mean, so like it's also good at the beginning of rounds and at the end. It's sort of like the old ninja vanish from first edition Pathfinder. You're like, oh, guess what? I'm just gonna hit you twice and vanish in front of your face.
Yeah.
Invisibility is always powerful. With all of these things, it's all in the players and how they use it and how the GM adjudicates them into the game. I believe they're all fantastic things to try to obtain, achieve, or bribe your GM into giving you. You can always sort of Uber Eats food to his house, and he will throw you a quick rune or a Slippers of Spider Climb. I hope you find this all extremely informative, and I hope you have as much fun playing as we enjoy playing. With the Nothing Ventured, Nothing Games. It's just a lot of fun, and we're glad that we could bring you these videos. I hope you like them, subscribe, and I will send it back to our GM Jared to close us out.
Sure. And thank you, Jeff. Thank you very much for being here. If you haven't gotten a chance, Jeff is our resident rogue, and you could find Jeff for any kind of questions. Jeff has been playing rogue or rogue-like characters in tabletop role-playing games since, I think, AD&D, right?
Yeah, since AD&D and AD&D Second.
Yep. And where can they find you? On Twitter at...
I'm on Twitter at O_F_SIX for Old Fashioned 6.
Nice. Wonderful.
I will answer any questions. I will talk about any adventuring that you like. Give me all your fun rogue stuff that you've done. Yeah.
Awesome.
I just think it's great. I love playing rogues. I mean, it always sort of went that way by default because nobody ever wanted to play rogue years ago. So I was like, I'll play the rogue. I'll play the rogue. So, after a while, you sort of get good at things.
Yes, and you have quite some experience with multiple different systems. So not just Pathfinder, but he'll forward any questions on Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Savage Worlds, any adventure that you are playing a rogue or rogue-like character. Jeff has probably played in those systems. And you could also catch him every Wednesday on our Patreon on our secret Call of Cthulhu campaign, where he is not playing a rogue, but I think he might die.
Ain't no magic gonna save us now.
No.
Yeah.
So we are Nothing Ventured, Nothing Game. Rolling dice, giving advice with a little bit of that New York spice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Like and subscribe. Love you all. Be safe out there.